We are 2 months away to the day from the NHL trade deadline. And to celebrate that mark, Frank Seravalli released his latest trade targets board over at dailyfaceoff.com. So your delicious debate, I'm going to give you the first 5 and then the next 5. We'll break down the top 10. And you tell me out of those names, how many you think would be good fits on the Oilers or are players you think the Oilers should be targeting ahead of the deadline. So here we go. Number 1, Brock Nelson, center/winger for the New York Islanders. Number 2, Yanni Gourde, center for the Seattle Kraken. Number 3, our former friend Taylor Hall, currently with the Chicago Blackhawks, pending UFA with a $6 million cap hit. Number 4, Ryan Lindgren, a left shot defenseman for the New York Rangers, also a pending UFA at $4.5 million. Number 5, Dylan Cousins, the workhorse from Whitehorse, 5 years left, $7.1 million AAV, but only 23 years old. So let's start with those 5. Cousins, Lindgren, Hall, Gourde, and Nelson. Dan, do any of them strike a chord with you as an Oiler?
Good gravy. Would I love Dylan Cousins on this team, but the money just doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah,
7-1 is a big ticket.
I don't think that there. I'm looking defensively at this trade deadline, so I'm not really intrigued by anything at the top there.
Especially because I don't think Ryan Lindgren's very good.
Yes,
so like that, he's the lone D man on there, and I don't view him.
What about Ivan Provorov?
He's not in the top 5. We're starting on the top 5.
Okay. I'm with you.
So within the top 5, anybody? Taylor Hall is the one that like maybe I think Oilers fans will try to get behind, but yeah. Anyone?
Is that a heart move or is that a mind move?
Heart, not HART this time.
Where does he go though? Like just following down the Taylor Hall rabbit hole. Where's he going?
To a team that wants the number 1 overall pick.
Are you talking about where he fits like on the Oilers?
Let's say you want him for the Oilers. Where does he go?
Your first line left winger, and then you've probably moved down Nuge. The factor in this is Evander Kane. Like, it just doesn't work. Because if he comes back, then the question is, you're already wondering where Evander Kane fits in the lineup.
That's right.
To try and fit both of them in, it's just not make a lot of sense.
Yeah, unless it's like Jeff Skinner going out and you're making the money work that way. But I agree, like your left side right now, Nuge, Podkolzin, Skinner, Kapanen. Kane's eventually going to come in there. If you have Nuge, Podkolzin, Skinner, and Kane as your 4 lefties, then yeah, there's probably just not a spot for a guy like Taylor Hall. Yanni Gourde's somewhat interesting though. Liam, you talked about the idea last week of like, do you maybe go, or we debated it, sorry, do you need to go add another centerman? And like, is Adam Henrique maybe more of a winger at this point? Would Yanni Gourde be an upgrade there?
Yeah, like my kind of idea around it, and I changed it a little bit, is that the Oilers should go and get a 3rd line center. Not that Henrique needs to be out of lineup or moved, but I think he probably fits a 4th line center role better than he does a 3rd line center role. Like,
why? Because his boots?
He doesn't score. And I know your 3rd line center isn't supposed to be like a driver of offense, but at the end of the day, you kind of need a little bit from them every now and then too. Like we've seen in times this season where it's just not been good enough. Like Henrique, was he have 2 or 3 goals this year? I don't know. Ryan McLeod, and I get it. Like he scored a lot of his goals with Draisaitl, but he was just doing exactly the same. He could just skate faster. So that's kind of my idea around it, is just try and get someone who can give you both at the 3rd line center. I don't know if Yanni Gourde's that guy either. And the problem is like a lot of these guys on Frank's list aren't right-handed shot centermen, which the others kind of need. But I don't think right-handed shots are as important maybe as they're always thrown out to be. Because if you get the face-off, you can pick what side you want it on anyway, right?
Sometimes.
So like if you are, for example, you're on, if they get to pick the spot, they're going to put it there, and you might just be exposed to be in their weakest spot anyway. So you know what I'm trying to say? Picking up what I'm laying down. I
do kind of get what you're saying.
But it is important. I'm not saying it's not, but maybe not as important as we make it sometimes.
Top 5's got nobody for me.
So then let's go to the next 5. We'll see if there's someone there for you, BM. Oh, sorry.
I'm pro Brock Nelson. I don't know if it'll work, but he's a great player.
But the issue is if you are giving up your 1st round pick for the number 1 forward rental, then you don't have a 1st round pick to give up for a defenseman.
And that's fine. I have an idea for that too.
Do you want to expand now or later?
I can expand now if you want.
Why make me wait?
I know. I think Nurse and Kulak are a good enough pairing that you can just put them as your top 4 as your second pairing. And then you go out and you get someone who can stabilize that, similar to what Kulak did like a few years ago. What they give up, 2nd round pick,
like a 2nd round pick or something.
William Lagesson, and wasn't it like a 4th or 5th something? Like you can still make that deal today to find your Kulak of today. You know what I mean?
Who's your Kulak of today? Or are you just using
I'm just using that as
spot?
as throwing it out there. Because also the other part of this is there's not really any right shot defenseman out there.
Well, that does kind of bring me to names 6 through 10. 6 is left winger Joel Farabee from the Philly Flyers, 3 years left, $5 million. Owen Byram is a left defenseman for the Buffalo Sabres that can play the right side. He's done it a little bit in both Buffalo and Colorado, I believe. Is he a left shot? He is a left shot, right?
I find that interesting, though, that he would already be back on the trade targets list so shortly after getting traded there.
Yeah, he is a pending RFA, $3.8 million, and the reports are that he, in his final RFA years, really wants to go somewhere where he can be the number one defenseman. That's like the only places he'll sign. Because by the time he hits his UFA years, he wants to like have proven he's a number one D man. So Byram,
not here.
Yeah,
he is a great player.
Ivan Provorov's number 8. He is like Byram, a left shot defenseman who can play on the right side, so he can flip flop. He's been playing the right side in Columbus. Brandon Tanev, penalty killing left winger, 33 years old, pending UFA, $3.5 million. And then we get to the first true right shot defenseman, Rasmus Ristolainen, who has had a nice bounce back in Philly this year, but has 2 years left and a $5.1 million AAV.
To me, the one that like sticks out to me just because of the versatility would be probably Ivan Provorov. He can play both, and he's a pending UFA, so you're not necessarily stuck to him. The thing that sucks about it is you'd obviously have to cough up assets to acquire said player, and the Oilers don't really have a whole lot of them looking at right now in their draft picks. They got the 2nd, the 3rd, the 6th, and the 7th.
The thing with their first is it's
got to be either this year's or next year's, right?
Yeah. So the deal, and it's the Oilers' choice. Either they can give Philly their pick this year and it's, protected, you can opt out of it, or you can give Philly your unprotected pick in the 2026 draft. So if Edmonton was dealing with a team who said, no, we need a first round pick this year, they could make it happen by transferring their other pick or their pick to Philly down a year. But Provorov is probably the only guy in the top 10 for me that I look at and go like, he actually checks like multiple boxes and is realistic.
Yeah, I think that this grouping is where you're going to probably find an acquisition for the Oilers. I think that it's likely a Provorov versus a Byram, but I mean, selfishly, I would like the talent that Byram brings to the table. And also just the logistics of he's going away the next year and he's off your books versus, is Provorov?
He's a UFA. Byram's an RFA.
Right. Got it.
So Byram, you control his rights, but he might cost you $6-7 million to sign. I do understand like going after a guy with term and control, but also like if Provorov were to come here and you like him, you could just sign him, right? Like if it fits there, it fits there.
I'm scared about his size, man. I know people like to say it, but the playoffs are tough. And having a smaller defenseman back there in a prominent role when we don't have a lot of other size out there and a lot of depth, if you were to get hurt, it scares me a bit. I'd rather go for a bigger body, and I'm not saying Ristolainen. Owen Byram would probably be my number one option there. I mean, if you're willing to lose a UFA right away, then if you're just bringing in an RFA to leave right away, it's the same darn thing, right? You're spending assets for a short period of time. I think that's your better defenseman for sure.
I think he's your better defenseman. I wonder, again, if you get into a bidding war and there's a team out there, I don't exactly know who they could be, but a team out there who goes like, no, we want to keep him long-term. Are you just going to lose that bidding war with Byram? Because another team will go, okay, Edmonton's offering a first. You want us to beat it? We'll beat it because we're going to sign him.
You know I mean? Listen, if you lose someone that way, then that's fine. But I mean, that'd be my first target of the 10 guys.
If there's an opportunity to re-sign him, then yeah, I would go that way too. I just don't know how it would fit, knowing that he's pending RFA, and then you've also got Bouchard's contract.
But if you're allowing Provorov to turn around and walk away out the door afterwards, anyways, what's the point? Why not this guy too?
No, I get your logic. Totally get it. I just don't know if that's necessarily more. I think probably more realistic, given what the Oilers have for assets, to acquire Provorov than a Bo Byram. But again, what do I know? And
if we miss out on Provorov, there's always Ristolainen.
I can't wait for the Oilers to get tied to him again.
Other guys ahead of that.
It's been a minute since the Oilers have been tied to Rasmus Ristolainen.
Yeah, not great. The other
Stafford, is he coming back this year?
Maybe this is the
about to be time.
It's got to be this year.
Jim Matheson chomping at the bit to get that guy in an Oilers jersey. The other defensemen who are in Frank's top 25, Will Borgen is the guy who the Rangers just got from Seattle in the Kraken deal. pending UFA, $2.7 million. Frank says the Rangers aren't married to him. And then after that, Zach Jones is a left defenseman who plays for the Rangers. He's young, 24 years old, pending RFA, only making $800K. He's been healthy scratched a ton, probably not established enough for the Oilers to consider. And then the name at 24 would be Keandre Miller, 24 years old for the Rangers as well. $3.8 million pending RFA. He plays the left side, has not played the right side. I texted Johnny Lazarus, our resident Rangers reporter, and I said, hey, do you think Miller could play the right side? And he did say that he thinks Miller's game would translate fine to the right side of the ice. So Keandre Miller, if you're looking for a younger guy, is maybe an option too. But again, maybe not a perfect fit because he's not a natural right shot defenseman.
Why not player number 25 on the list?
Elias Pettersson?
I didn't know he was on
7
there.
years, 11.6 remaining. Why not?
That's it.
Hey, if the Canucks keep half,
If they double retain,
double retain on 7 more years.
you know?
That would be bonkers.
Anyway.
I can't believe he's on the list.
Well, there was that other
Yeah.
report that came out from the Score that said that the Canucks turned down Zibanejad for Miller. Was that right?
Yeah.
This morning, yeah.
Which, why would the Canucks accept that? Zibanejad hasn't been
I know.
very
I
good.
saw that headline and I'm like, this is news to people. That'd be like, the Oilers turned down Draisaitl for Zibanejad. I was like, yeah, no shit, man. Zibanejad's not that good.
But then they could have avoided all of this drama.
Good enough.
Some of the trades out there are actually insane. Like when people put trade, like, what do they call them? Mock trades out there.
No, they don't think about
Sometimes I
it from
think that, like,
both sides.
They've never seen a trade happen in the NHL before, and this will be the first trade ever.
They're always
that's
so
the table.
lopsided. It's like what Rick said. They never think about the other side of person going,
I'll give you
that
6
doesn't work for
pieces
me.
for that one piece.
I saw one the other day from a Canucks fan. Take this for what it's worth. Was Fantilli, Werenski, and I think it was a first round pick for
Yeah.
Pedersen. And DJ Bean retweeted it and said, "Why don't you just give up the arena as well?" Real Marchenko, like, come on.
Yeah, I'm in.
But I think that's like people are a victim of seeing the success of all those stupid hockey rumor websites that
Yeah.
that just put that stuff out there and they get engagement out of it as well.
So silly. I've been doing some research while you guys have been chatting.
I love when you do research.
I was curious because the trade market to me is always, like we just kind of said, something that is maybe more delusional than we want to think sometimes. So I went and looked to see, like, at the deadline last year, what players were traded for a first round pick. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players traded close to the deadline or at the deadline for traded for a first round pick. Hurdle to Vegas, Hannafin to Vegas, Jay Gensel to Carolina, obviously Henrique to Edmonton. Sean Walker was a conditional first round pick to Colorado. I don't remember what the condition was. Monahan to Winnipeg, and Elias Lindholm was the other one to Vancouver. There was only 4 players for a second round pick. And this was not like a first and a third or stuff like that. This was like the main piece was this pick was Toffoli to Winnipeg, Wenberg to the Rangers, Mantha to Vegas. Where Vegas got all these picks on, I don't remember, to be honest. Tanev to Dallas was the one I remember being like surprised about. And all those fans, I think, were pretty annoyed at the Toffoli one as well to Winnipeg. Third round pick, which I think is probably, I think the Oilers will be in the first round pick and the third round pick range, somewhere like there. There was quite a few. Labushkin to Toronto, along with Edmondson to Toronto. Tarasenko to Florida. Brandon Duhaime to Colorado, along with Trenin. Kuznetsov, obviously that one was a bit different, to Carolina for a third. Andrew Peak to Boston for a third. Jake Allen was the other one that was traded to New Jersey, right? So there you go.
So the top 10 names you can kind of say are going to get a first or a second.
Pretty much, it seems like close to. So how many of those guys do you think are even worth it?
Provorov.
We sat here a couple of years ago, went over a bunch of names, and everybody didn't like anything. And then by the time it was all said and done, Ekholm was an Oiler.
I was thinking they
This
ruined
time-
all trades.
Yeah, but by this time that year, Ekholm was the rumor.
2 months short?
Yeah, Frank had him on
I
his trade
remember
board
that.
in November.
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I don't remember Ekholm being
To be
a
fair,
consideration till almost the end, if at all.
we weren't, as Oiler fans, I don't think we were considering him just because of that.
We would have been considering absolutely everything. I
Yeah.
drank Kool-Aid, sir.
Yeah, I would have been. I don't.
We just went through the
remember it
exercise,
this
though.
early.
with Byram and all those guys where we're saying, they don't.
But
make
that's
it.
what I mean. I think we sat here
Yeah.
with the top 10 that year and went, okay, well, this and that, but went through a bunch of names that nobody was really too jacked up on, or you kind of like 50-50, 60-40 on some names. But by the time Ekholm was done, I think the majority of everybody was like, holy shit. Yeah, no, that was a hell of a move. And I just don't think we would have talked about it ad nauseum, because that was the best. That would have been the best option.
I don't know.
It would have been by far the best option. And we didn't talk about it.
Weren't we on Carlson watch back then?
Yeah,
So
because the guy down there in that office down there was willing to do it.
Yeah, he's not.
We were talking about Ekholm by this point. I'm trying to go through Oilers.
Yeah, you're going to show me proof. So I feel like
I know he was on Frank's trade targets board at the end of November that year.
If so, then that's 8 shows. 2 months is 8,
but he probably
Friday shows that we would have talked about him.
But I don't think Ekholm would have been high on that list because he was
I think that's
just re-signed or freshly into his re-signed contract.
He had just re-signed, didn't he, before they traded him?
Yeah. And then it was a long-term contract. And Nashville wasn't really at that point of like.
Then how the heck did he
selling
end up
it away.
on Frank's trade list?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
But I think that might be the answer, though, is that it's like 24, 25, like who just brought up Elias Pettersson.
Well, he's in a spat.
He's in a weird spot. Yeah.
Family
I like
spat.
it.
They're going to go to Jerry
I hope they
Springer
fight each other
Murray.
again.
Who do you get rid of?
I would personally get rid of Miller because he's significantly older.
I think that's the answer.
I think you have to look at the makeup of your team first. If you have a team that's a little
I
bit
get it,
more
but like I'm
JT
thinking of
Miller-ish,
straight
then you get rid
asset
of
management,
Peterson.
older guy.
Yeah, but you can also move Peterson for probably more, right?
But also,
If
on top of that too, if assuming JT Miller is kind of the problem, right? Because he's personality and all of this. What's to say you just move on from Pettersson and then he just does it to?
that's why I wanted. That's why you need
I
to
want him
look
to do it
into
to
the
Quinn
team.
Hughes too.
He's too strong of a man.
Nah.
Who's Hughes are their perimeter players, man. They're not.
The situation in Vancouver is actually dumb.
Either way, we could probably do a whole episode on that. But I want to hear from you. Hit us up on socials. I want to know any of those names on Frank Seravalli's trade targets list interest you. A lot of Provorov love, a little Bowen Byram love, no Tay love. Sorry.
Bowen have a cup ring?
Yeah, Colorado. Yeah, because I remember the thing with him was they were doing the parade and the cop didn't know he was on the team and kept being like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And he goes, "No, I play on the team."
Oh yeah.
Ekholm was the 2023 deadline, right?
Beats me.
2023, like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, because last year was
March of
2024.
23.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. This is from February. He was 4th on Frank's list in February.
February what?
28th.
So a week before the deadline.
Of 23.
Oh, I'm finding. I'm going back.
Please do.
I'm in the shits on Oilers Nation right now. I'm
Are you in the comment section?
no. I'm I'm currently I'm reading through the articles we published in January of 2023.
It says, the scoop. The great sell-off in Smashville has begun and Ekholm might be the next to go. This isn't exactly a new development. Ekholm was one of the first prominent players added to our trade board back in January when we were told outgoing GM Dave Pohl was his name, began to pursue the market for his hefty defender.
But to defend Tyler, he was right because we were talking about it at this time because that article came out on January the 3rd of 2023.
Yeah, January is fine. I mean, you want to
So
say it was this
both
time,
and both wrong.
fine.
But I'm just saying, like right now, this trade board we're having, the idea that Ekholm was like came out of the blue in mid-February, and it was like that's the guy. Like, no, we'd been talking about him for a few months, and right
he'd have
now,
to pop up like this week or next week on Frank's trade list.
yeah, history would.
And I
repeat
think
itself.
everybody that is on today's list has been there for a while. So I just don't think that Ekholm is out there quite yet.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.